Hey everybody, Law Mama here. We just made it back from back to school today, and I thought I would go ahead and give us a little back to school fun on distribution of assets and debts, and specifically debts that are incurred during a marriage. Let's say, for instance, parties incur a mountain load of debts during the marriage, but both parties are well aware of those debts. Well, most courts are going to distribute those assets in a way that is considered equitable, not necessarily 50-50. A lot of states, their statute will say that assets and debts are distributed equitably, which is not always 50-50. It could be 60-40, it could be 90-10, it could be 75-25. It just depends. But most states are an equitable distribution. So what happens if you have a party, husband or wife, let's say husband in this circumstance, who maybe goes out and buys an RV and puts it, well, for all intents and purposes, steals wife's identity and buys an RV that she had no idea was her asset. Well, in that circumstance, in all likelihood, what would happen is the court would assign that debt to the party who took it upon themselves to buy the other person an RV without their knowledge. That is not something that both parties agreed upon. But let's say, for instance, a party took out a credit card that both parties were using. That's a different circumstance because both parties were getting the benefit from it. But let's say maybe one party took off with the RV and the wife didn't know it was actually hers. In that circumstance, the judge is in all likelihood going to assign that debt to husband. And if husband doesn't continue to pay on that loan, what will happen is it'll get repossessed. Anyways, long story short, what courts will do when distributing assets and debts, marital property, is they will do it equitably. And whatever that ends up being is kind of put into the pot, and it, like I mentioned before, could potentially be 50-50, it could be 90-10, 75-25, but a lot of courts now, what they are doing is giving a larger property award to the party who has a lesser earning capacity. Say, for instance, you were a stay-at-home mother for 2 decades, and you're asking for maintenance or alimony, whatever your state refers to it as. It may be a situation that the judge would give you maybe 80% of the assets and the other party 20% of the assets, and 100% of the debt goes to the other party as well. They may do that in lieu of awarding alimony. What that does is it frees up the court so that it's not always going back if one party, husband or wife, whoever has to pay the maintenance or alimony, stops paying. That clogs up our court system, and it makes things slow down a great deal. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. Please drop me a comment if there are additional questions that you have about distribution of marital assets or debts. I'm happy to discuss it, and I look forward to discussing another topic with you soon. Have a great weekend.